My name is Debra Pascali-Bonaro, and I am the director of the documentary Orgasmic Birth, The Best Kept Secret, as well as co-author of the book Orgasmic Birth, Your Guide to a Safe, Satisfying, and Pleasurable Birth Experience. Pain in childbirth is a really interesting discussion. I think it's something that's really been laid on women throughout time and throughout history to really believe that birth is something that's painful, that's really something a lot of women are so afraid of that they're not allowing themselves to really revel in their body and the miracle that their body creates and that's possible in birth. I also have to say that the word pain is quite interesting because we can say pain is something, maybe a toothache is painful, to an amputation, to childbirth, and how can all these things be the same kind of pain? So in childbirth, what I'd like to say is that we will feel many sensations, and I think we need to re-describe these. Ina May Gaskin, a wonderful famous midwife, years ago, kind of in her book Spiritual Midwifery, called them rushes. Or I like the word surges, because surge to me is energy. And this is our energy. This is our body. This is our baby. This is our birth. And if we think of the energy that's moving through us, then we can open up a whole new vocabulary. We may feel sensations that might be challenging, but they may be pleasurable. They might be tightening. They might be opening. They may be joyful. They may be blissful. And in the heights of the passion of birthing our babies, they could be orgasmic. So I think that we need to really expand. I wouldn't put pain as part of my vocabulary in birth. It may be a piece for some women. And I don't want to nullify that for some women, they may call birth painful. But I also have to question that were they given all the tools? Were they able to have a range of comfort available to them? Because our current model in childbirth in a hospital today, I believe, is actually inducing pain in women, where there is a model, a midwifery model, a mother-baby model, that's providing a range of options to women that can transform it from pain into the pleasure sphere. So if you're listening and your experience with birth has been lots of stories about pain, or maybe your first birth experience was really painful, the first thing I would ask you to do is really to do some inner homework. And where has your knowledge and your perceptions of birth come from? And are the stories and experiences that you're building upon, were they in a place, one that really supported women's body, that gave you privacy, that treated you and your decisions with respect and dignity? And if not, find women who have given birth in really what I would call undisturbed environments, that have allowed themselves to dance, to move their body, to have access to water, to massage, to touch, and really explore the range of options. Because I think the first thing we need to do is address, what have we learned? You know, our body-mind connection is really powerful. If I was in your room today as you're watching, and I could say to you that I have this spray and I'm going to spray it, and it may make you itch. And I'm just going to, as we're talking, kind of be aware if you begin to itch a little bit. And if I started to kind of do that, you know, most people, if I plant that seed of itching, very quickly start to feel a little itchy. And even though I'm not with you, you may be watching and saying, oh my goodness, you know, the more I say itch, the more you feel it. So if you can acknowledge that, even the placebo effect, when we study in science and we give people sugar pills, we know a fair number will begin to heal on the belief that they're taking something that makes the change. So this notion of pain in childbirth is very deep-rooted for us as women and for men, and we need to really work on it because it has been entrenched in that mind-body connection. And what we believe, we often manifest. So the first way to move from pain to pleasure is to really get below our belief system, and then to release some of that knowledge that we've been ingrained with, and instead start looking at, start listening to, start seeking out women that use a language that's positive and pleasurable in birth, and learn from their stories. What did they do? What were ways that they transformed the experience? Where did they birth? Whom did they birth with? How did they birth? I think our stories are really powerful. That's why I made a documentary to try to help women to have visuals and open up to new stories and new ways of thinking about birth. So addressing your beliefs on pain are essential to begin this journey. Well, I'm a doula, and many women always say, "What's a doula?" And a doula is another woman that provides continuous support, nurturing, touch, encouragement, really helping you with the physical, emotional, and spiritual aspects of birth. We're not a medical caregiver, so we're not there to replace the care that you get from your midwife or a physician. We're really there to offer that woman-to-woman support. We also are there to support the rest of your team. So this doesn't replace if you're bringing your partner or a husband or your own mother. We're there to embrace the support that you do have and help all of you to kind of go through labor and birth in the best optimal way. We also are going to help you in getting good information, so facilitating communication between yourself and your caregiver so that you have the information you need to make the best decisions. So when you add a doula to your team, this extra woman that's there to help you to advocate even stronger for what you want at birth, doulas are going to really help you to move into a pleasurable experience. Whether it's just giving you the confidence in your body, someone there to say, "Your body rocks. We believe in you. We know that while there may be moments of challenge, that there's going to be moments of great joy, and we're there every step of the way with you." But doulas also even go beyond that. We help you set what we call birth ambiance. And that's to create the environment that your hormones will just flow beautifully. We always say the energy that gets the baby in gets the baby out. And so what would you like for an intimate experience? What kind of lighting? What sounds? What smells? What touch? And as a doula, we're going to realize that this is a very sensitive moment. If anything disturbs that birth ambiance, that sensuous feeling, your labor is going to be harder. Just like if you were being intimate, either alone or with a partner, what are the things that would disturb you? If you couldn't have an intimate experience in the setting where you plan to birth, then if you couldn't have the energy coming in to conceive, how are you going to birth in that environment? So a doula really holds that energy for you on multiple levels. So if you're really wanting to change that paradigm for yourself, if you want to open up to pleasure in birth, the first thing is finding pleasure every day. We have to really get in touch with our bodies in pregnancy. This is a time of incredible growth, right? And obviously physical growth. But for anyone who's ever been pregnant, you know that along with that comes really looking at body image. When your body's changing so rapidly, it brings you to all your issues of body image. It brings you to a new connection. Your body is swollen with love, with a baby. And this is going to open up to new possibilities in your sexuality, in your sensuous being. And this is going to open up for you emotionally as well as spiritually. Now, on one level, I'm saying this and it sounds all positive. But no, not all of us have had a positive journey with our bodies, with our sexuality, or with emotional issues surrounding mothering, parenting, raising children. So for many of us, this also brings a lot of challenge, but challenge gives us an opportunity for real growth and healing. If women are survivors of neglect or sexual abuse, survivors bring with them a lot of experiences that are going to be difficult coming into birth and coming into parenthood. So pregnancy provides a really wonderful window that a lot of healing can take place so that you enter birth from a new place. And birth itself is an incredible opportunity for women to connect with their inner wisdom, their strength, and to heal their body and their emotions on many levels. But pregnancy is the time that this work needs to happen. I recommend many different avenues, and each one of you will need to find the one that resonates for you. Certainly, journaling is something that I've found personally helpful to really capture my feelings and to see what the reoccurring themes are and to begin to find what works for me. I also would highly recommend prenatal yoga or some form of movement. I love journey dance is something I'm doing a lot of, which is yoga dance, and I'm taking pregnant women through that as we can move through dance and open up and connect to parts of our bodies that we might not have liked before or gotten really deep into or released emotions that are stored in parts of our bodies. I would recommend body work, massage, touch, the many modalities of really feeling your body and moving the energy within it. I also would say for some women, first of all, there are many, many books, and so really finding which ones call to you and resonate to you on all different levels of healing and pregnancy, but even finding a birth therapist. And there are many therapists today that are really specializing in helping women prepare for birth. And even if you think you have no issues and you're completely ready to give birth, I hate to say it, but we all have something. And whether it's just one session with a birth therapist that can help us create personal visualizations, personal images, help us strip away those one or two things that maybe it's our fear of birth, maybe it's the fear of pain of birth, but having someone address that is helpful. And the last piece is find a really good childbirth class. There are so many different modalities of childbirth education today, and some people even take 2 or 3 of them to combine them. But search, because education is power, and when you understand the process and what's available and you develop your own toolkit to work with it, it's going to be much easier and more fulfilling. I've been really blessed that I get to attend births with hundreds of women, to receive stories from thousands of women around the world and hear what's worked for them. And there are a couple things that always have a common thread for women that have a pleasurable birth. One, they're women that are really choosing where and with whom they give birth. Where you make the baby is often a great place to birth the baby. And so a lot more women in a home environment, in a birth center, or in a hospital that's really made an effort to create an environment that looks like home. You know, whether it's just a cozy big bed rather than, never understood why you're the biggest in your life and hospitals give you this tiny bed. I mean, what kind of message does that give for your partner or your support team? You want a place that's really welcoming. You want a space that feels warm. And as I said earlier, you want to create birth ambiance. So it's a place that you want to be able to control the lighting. Women often do better with dim lighting. That you can bring in aromatherapy, if you like, to the smells that make you feel intimate and sensuous. That you can bring in your music if there's a special artist or the sound of a river, whatever the sounds are that take you deeper. And that you know your caregiver is so respectful of giving you that privacy, of being there not to disturb you. We often hear that they have the guardian midwife. The midwife like a lifeguard that's there that you barely notice. And they're there only when birth crosses over to needing assistance. You know they're there like a lifeguard. You certainly don't want a caregiver that's the lifeguard that keeps pulling you out of the water when you're trying to swim well, because then they're disturbing you, they're disturbing the process, and they may even be adding to your fear. And we know the more afraid you are, the more tense you are, the more pain you feel. And long ago, we identified that fear, tension, pain cycle. So you need to be with people that build your confidence so that you let go and release your fear and you birth with confidence. The other thing that we're really seeing that women that have pleasure have usually is access to water. A shower in early labor, but a big tub when labor gets stronger. Water is, like we call it, the aquadural, the epidural for women that want a more natural birth. And I think water is an essential ingredient to have in your toolkit. You may decide you don't like it, but I think ethically, it's not ethical to only offer women drugs and medicine when you don't offer them such simple things like water that we know not only make labor easier, but water speeds up labor. Women that get in a tub once they're in active labor often have a much shorter labor. So water to me is an essential ingredient. And then I would say birth balls and gym mats, and there's things called ladders kind of on the wall where you can hang and squat and lean. I also think we need kind of slings and ropes. Women often, if you look at traditional images, we're holding ropes and pulling or holding a stake. And so we need to have kind of tools in this environment that allow women to freely move wherever their body and their baby is asking them. Because women that are upright, we know have shorter, easier labors. The more you lay back and sit back, the harder, the more painful, and the longer your labor is. So you need a creative, an active environment that's encouraging you and supporting you to find the positions that are making it easier for you and your baby. And the last thing I would add is make it fun. The women that find pleasure have moments of joy. You know, they put on some fun music and they dance a bit, because birth is like putting on tight jeans. If you had tight jeans and you had to lay on a bed and stay relatively still and pull them on, we'd never get them on. But when you want to put on tight jeans, you bounce around and you tug and you pull, and that's how you wiggle them on. Well, think about, you have the biggest thing ever in your body. You need to wiggle and move and help that baby find its way. Belly dancing. Beautiful. That's the history of childbirth. Women learned belly dancing to make those beautiful hip circles and dance their babies out. And I think we need to return that. We need to wear what makes us feel powerful and confident and sexy. We need to approach birth in that way. And it's amazing what will unfold.